What's up, guys? I hope you're doing well. James here from jamesd4site.com. Here for another book review, not necessarily with respect to, or not necessarily about business and that sort of thing. This one's more of kind of a personal book in a way. It's The Book of Five Rings by, see if I could pronounce it right, Miyamoto Musashi? Question mark? Never pretended to be good at Japanese names and stuff, so probably mispronounced it, but it is what it is. But basically, it's Musashi was a samurai who was born in 1584, and so that whole kind of, I believe, and I'm not obviously not an expert in Japanese history and such, but it's pretty much Japan was in massive turmoil, war, basically that whole, I guess, century in a way, for a while, obviously. But obviously from Japan, so it's samurai, but also the book itself. And it was recommended to me as more of kind of a personal book. And here's the cover of the one that I got. Obviously it has a very reflective front, but I mostly got it because the cover feels nice. But anyways, yeah, but it has he has very interesting perspectives on things. And I can definitely see to where some people would read this, and if you read it kind of superficially and only kind of look at it for what the words are in and of themselves, they don't really, it's kind of like, okay, this is how you do this sort of move in sword fighting and that sort of thing. But there seems to be a lot more to it. You just have to kind of look into it. And I know there's some translations or whatever that have like where someone kind of went through and put in their own deeper meaning or what they got from it and that sort of thing, kind of adding, okay, this is what this means. And I can definitely see where there is a layer of, I guess, complexity underneath of what's being said, but it's also like not all of it is just kind of like moves and that sort of thing that you have during a duel or a fight or whatever. There is some of that, and I can also see where that can be kind of parlayed into having deeper meaning. But a lot of it too is kind of like, okay, what do you kind of have to, it's very abstract in terms of how he describes what you need to be, right? And how you kind of see things in the world and that sort of thing. In that terms, it sounds a lot like a kind of a philosophical argument in a way, to where the terms are not, I guess not terms, but the way he portrays his kind of argument is very abstract. And I think that's probably the best way to put it. But it's short. It's a pretty short book, like 150 something pages, and the version I got has a lot of pictures and art and that sort of thing in it. But again, it's one of those things. It's one in which you have to read multiple times and really ponder. And he actually says that explicitly, like multiple times throughout the book. He's like, this is something you can't say in words, or you can't like articulate in words, and you have to ponder this and study it well, is basically what he says for almost everything. And it's basically broken up into 5 different books, as he calls them, and each kind of going into looking at different aspects of life in that way. And so he has like the ground book, and then he has the water, fire, wind, and the void. And each one of those is their own separate book, and looking at kind of a different part of, I guess, like the best way to describe it, I guess, would be like the way of the warrior, because that's essentially what I bought this one, and it was a part of kind of a little pack. It had the Book of Five Rings, the Art of War, and then the Way of the Samurai, I believe. And those are all kind of in this little pack called the Way of the Warrior. And kind of, I think it's very interesting in terms of what it looks at from the kind of Japanese code of Bushido, it seems. And it's I've been kind of thinking about that and mulling it over in general of how that applies to actual life in and of itself, right? And kind of the things that it as I completely go blank. But basically it's like the way it looks at things. Like one of the biggest things that I remember from this book is the whole kind of concept of knowledge being a circle. And that's something I've been kind of mulling over. There's been a lot of similarities between, because this is something that's very new to me, in all honesty, the whole kind of idea of like Bushido and that sort of thing, and actually looking into kind of the morality or ethical kind of background for it, and in that respect. And there's a lot of similarities between some of the stuff that I've been thinking about, just kind of that I've figured out on my own, or how I've been kind of starting to think of things, and how it's portrayed in Bushido and that sort of thing. And the whole concept of like knowledge is more of a circle is something that I've kind of got to on my own, but when they said it here, it kind of puts it in a different, it articulates it in a different way and really kind of makes you think about it. And I think that's a lot how it's, I don't know if I'd say it's like the answer or whatever, but obviously it's something, it's people dedicate their entire lives to the study of things like this, as he did. I mean, basically he wrote this book for a student of his, and his whole kind of, like he dedicated his life to this sort of thing. And I think that's probably why it's called the Book of Five Rings, and because the rings is a circle, and it's kind of like the knowledge of the different aspects of life and that sort of thing. And there's a lot of kind of concepts that you see from someone who is very wise, I guess. Like if you go to like, obviously not for anybody, but like your grandfather or whoever who's seen a whole bunch of things and he's been kind of deemed as this kind of like wise old man or whatever. It's a lot like the things that you would hear him say. That's, excuse me, that sort of thing. And so I think especially the concept of knowledge being like a ring, or in that respect, basically having complete understanding that you can see all the arguments or whatever, or complete understanding of a topic in which you can see how they all kind of interact and kind of close around each other. And so, which kind of brings me to the whole purpose of this, right? The videos, the YouTube channel, and that sort of thing. That's kind of the reason why I started it to begin with, was to look at all the different points of view and actually gain like a deeper understanding and try to completely understand the topics that I talk about. And that's the purpose of these, and the reasons why I read all these books and kind of also do the videos on them, and try to kind of really not only show people what I learned from them, or to kind of, but also to try to articulate my thoughts in a way that really helps me synthesize what I learned, right? And obviously sometimes I do it better than others with topics that I'm much more familiar with. And that's also why I don't practice these really, because I really want to show the whole, like me thinking through it in the moment sort of thing. And so, because I notice that's when I kind of when I'm not full of conviction on a topic, I think it leads to much deeper discussions and deeper understanding in the end, just because I'm trying to understand it from as many different points of view as possible. And so by doing that, you understand it much deeper. And when you do reach a kind of state of conviction, it is much stronger, and I don't know, it's much stronger. But anyways, that's pretty much all I got for this one. It's been highly recommended from multiple sources that I listen to, which is part of the reason why I got it. But it's also, if you don't care for long reads, it's pretty short too, which is nice in a way. But it's definitely something you have to read multiple times and ponder and that sort of thing to really kind of gain the lessons from it. And It's much like Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, to where it's something you probably read like on an annual basis. It's not very long, so it's not like it's difficult and takes a significant amount of your time, but it is something that is definitely worth study and practice and that sort of thing. So anyways, I guess for one last time, picture of the cover, and then I always just put links or Amazon links to the books in the description whenever I do these reviews, and I just put the same one that I got. Be a different cover, but because I didn't get this off of Amazon, I found a sweet used bookstore in town. So anyways, I'm gonna leave this one here. So I hope you guys have a good night, and I will see you on the next one.